our next speaker. Next speaker, I've known him, I met him, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more than that. Could have been last year sometime. Randall Avery. He is a financial advisor, and I would say he's probably an expert in that, something that we need, very much so. It's a vital area, finances. You're talking about something that is vital in our well-being, especially in microeconomics. And that's something that I love. I talk about it all the time. The difference between macro and microeconomics. In fact, that was one of my favorite subjects in Morehouse. Economics, especially micro. I'm going to do, you don't care nothing about macro. I'll leave that to Donald Trump. Micro is what I want to talk about. And let's give him my hand. Randall Avery.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and our honored guest. What do people gain from all their labors under the sun? What do we labor for? That means what we do with our hands, what we do with our minds. We exchange for goods and services. When I observe human nature, I found a couple things. The eyes can never get enough of seeing. We want to see so much beauty. Our ears will never get enough of hearing. We want to hear the word. We want to take in as much as possible. We have to ask ourselves, why is this the case? I firmly believe that God has given us these bottomless desires for us to seek Him and also to view what He has actually created. How many times have we been on our knees begging for God to give us a sign that He is actually still with us? Unfortunately, though, I'm concerned. What happens when the enemy perverts these desires for his will? That ancient serpent of old. Come with me on a journey and let's take an objective view of human consumer behavior. Let's figure out what's going on here. Do we find it strange that we spend so much time watching the TV? We have to ask ourselves, what are we looking for? How many movies must we watch until we've had our fill of cinematic entertainment? How many restaurants must we attend to say we have had our fill of something new? And last but not least, how many countries must we visit to say that we've had enough experiences or have seen enough cultures? There must be some type of cap on these amount of experiences. Maybe the answer is it all depends. Maybe the answer is we can't judge anybody else's vices. As a financial advisor, I've seen so many different persons and how they spend their money. I've learned that you cannot instruct anybody how to spend their money better. But what you can do is allow them to observe their spending habits, what they're spending on, and the effects it has on society. If we do not change the way we spend, our communities, which we've experienced, and our country, which we've been experiencing lately, will go to a place of moral bankruptcy. That's why I suggest, I beg, and I plead with you, we need to move towards something called social responsible spending. The first step in social responsible spending is to understand that God has given us these bottomless desires. He encourages us to use those to seek His glory, hear His word, and that we will never get our fill. But in the SRS model, it's broken up into two different parts. The first part is when you spend your money, you have to be concerned with your own economic well-being. So when you spend and buy something, that thing that you bought has to come back into you positively economically. The second part of the SRS model is the social model. The social model means when you spend your money, you take concern with your fellow mankind and how they're treated by those products that you're giving. Today, I want to go in more depth with the social model. And I believe if you meditate on the answers to the 5 questions in the social model, you will actually see yourself not only being more connected with mankind, but you will also see wealth come back into your pocket. Like I said, there's 5 questions. Question number 1. Who is the owner of the establishments that we're patronizing? Back in the day, we used to have some sense of pride in who we bought our things from. We always bought our tires from Leroy's Auto Pit. Why? Because he's been giving us tires for my families for generations. When did we become so disconnected? How come we can't go back to the point where we value who we patronize? You might say to me, Randall, that's not my concern. All I care about is the service, the product, and the price. Who am I to know where my products actually come from? You have to realize that when you spend your money, you're doing 2 things simultaneously. You're allowing something to grow, and you're also starving something. Consider every dollar that you spend a vote, and make sure you're voting for the candidate that shares your exact same values. Question number 2, what does the company stand for, and how do they show that they stand for this? A perfect example of this is the Panera Bread case. Panera Bread is a fast casual restaurant in the United States. One of the things the leadership thought at the company was, they said they did not like the dignity shown for those who gave money to the food to the homeless. They thought that they could be given food and still show dignity. They did not feel like they had to wait in line to serve food. So they thought to themselves, if we are a restaurant and we serve people, how come we can't do this way, but also serve them in a way that shows dignity? So what did they do? They created a pay what you can cafe. What that means was they had a cafe. It didn't have any prices. They went as far as to say they didn't even want registers. All you had was a donation box. The motto was, take what you need and pay what you can. The end result of this case is a strong testament to human nature. They found out that people actually pay for their food. And individuals in the community, even though they didn't have to, paid more than what is the price on a regular Panera Bread. This store actually became profitable. It shows us if companies take the risk and actually have a heart and care, that they can actually do so profitably. And we should actually demand that they do such. Question number 3 is, how is the company investing back in our community? How many times are we going to let companies come in and extract the value from our community? We went to Leroy's Auto Pit not only because we knew that he would do a good job and that he knew what he was doing. We also went to him because he was a pillar in our community. He attended our church, and he's been doing so for over a decade. How often are we going to allow companies to continue to come in here and extract our money without demanding that they put back in? No, I do not care about the latest fashion trend when our kids down the street do not have anything to eat. No, I do not care about the new restaurant down the street when our kids don't have any place safe to play. We need to make sure that companies, for their very existing, are putting back into our community. Question number 4, how are the employees treated? When we patronize a place, sometimes we don't really think about the employees and how they're feeling, but it's so important to our community. We all like to think when we go home that we can turn off the car, walk in the door, and flip the switch between work and home. But we know deep down inside that's not true. We've all had a stressful job that we took home and thought to ourselves, I'm not loving my family like I want to. And worst of all, I'm not loving my family like they desire from us. And this just doesn't affect your spouse, it affects the next generation. Sally won't get a bedtime story because mom is so stressed out to read to her. Justin won't get to throw the football with his dad because dad is at the bar getting some things off our chest. How individuals are treated in our community affect us. So next time you're at an establishment, look at those who work in there. Look at their demeanor. Ask them how they're treated and make that part of your purchasing decision. The last question you must ask is, how am I treated as an individual? Loving yourself goes beyond buying things that make you feel good. Loving yourself is also demanding that others treat you in an honorable way. That includes your spouse, that includes your boss, that includes the nail salon tech, that also includes that person who's following you around while you're window shopping. We have to also think that when we spend money at places that treat us wrong, we're not only giving them permission to treat us like that, we're giving them permission for people who look like us, people who dress like us, and people who act like us to also be treated that way. Even worse, we're giving them a blueprint that says it is profitable to treat individuals that way, so we have to treat the next generation that way as well. It is so important. And you might say, Randall, that's a lot. That's a lot to consider when we think about purchasing, but it should be the bare minimum when we talk about how we should spend our money and who deserves our dollar. So what we're moving away from is thinking about how we feel when we consume, which has been perverted by society. What we're moving towards is focusing on our fellow man, loving our brother, and making sure everybody has dignity. Let me review those 5 questions one more time. First question is, who is the owner of the establishment? Do we know them? Can we relate to them? And then could there be somebody else who we want to give our vote to? Question number 2, What does the company stand for? What are they actively engaging in our community? Are they tearing it down? Are we buying something that is killing our community, causing us to be on more medication? Really consider those things. Question number 3, how are they reinvesting back in our community? I think the Panera Bread example is a beautiful example. How are they actively using the profits, using their processes, and putting that right back into us? That way they're earning our dollar. Question number 4, the employees, something that we probably don't consider. But if the employees are happy, if families are intact, if children are being taken care of, these are key elements. You cannot separate work and home, and we probably should not even try it. Last but not least, how are you treated? Okay? How you're treated, it says a lot. It says about how you want to feel, but also says about what your community has feels. So my friends, I know there's nothing better than men and women to be happy and do good while they live. That everyone may find satisfaction in all their labors on the sun. But when you consume what you have labored on the sun for, please consider the points that I've discussed today. Fellow Toastmasters.
All right.
Before we bring up the next speaker, I want to acknowledge two brothers.